So just when you thought things in boxing couldn't get more crazy or more circus-like, we have yet more kind of ridiculous news in boxing because now we're hearing that Netflix is going to host a boxing match, which I think is probably going to be an exhibition. I think it's an exhibition match, to be fair, but between Iron Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, and this is going to be on Netflix, and it's going to be free of charge to subscribers. And yeah, for me personally, I don't like this idea. I don't like this idea. I think it's again one of those things where you're going to get a massive audience because Mike Tyson is one of those figures in boxing who, much like a Muhammad Ali, I would say those two figures, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, they're two guys that kind of are almost bigger than the sport of boxing. They kind of transcend the sport. They're individuals that have sort of touched the lives and hearts of so many people over the years that, Tyson, he's been retired for in excess of 20 years. I think he's probably about 25 years since his retirement, and people still talk about Mike Tyson. People still see Mike Tyson as extremely dangerous and extremely, still the baddest man on the planet. And Tyson is almost like he's a brand unto himself, and he's almost like a mythical person that has special powers, and people think of him in such high regard. It's I can see why him and Tupac got along so well because Tupac was like that to hip hop, and he still is, although he's been long dead. People still hold him in this mythical status where they just still admire him, and he's kind of this invincible figure that just kind of transcends the whole of music. And Tyson does that with boxing. He just kind of transcends the sport, and he's the larger than life person. So I can see why Netflix have picked this up. But I think, yeah, it's all going to depend on what happens, really. I think what I don't want to see is Tyson in there getting hurt by Jake Paul. But Jake Paul's one of those individuals who to his credit, he has a massive following. He's a kid that comes from, I believe, the Disney Channel or the Disney camp, that drama school or whatever it was. I think where you got Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, several other superstars that we see in this world. So he's very clever kid. He's made loads and loads of money. He's extremely famous. He has a massive following. So even within his own right, he's a superstar. Made a load of money, and to me, for Jake Paul, this is again a very clever move by him because what he's doing here is, obviously his last couple of fights, he fought against real boxers, but these are boxers that no one really knew. And to be fair to him, he's entitled to fight those guys because he has no real boxing experience. He was never an amateur. He's a YouTuber, picked up boxing, and he's just trying to build himself up. But this move here to fight Mike Tyson is once again just another sort of clever move, much like how he took on the retired MMA guys. I think Nate Diaz, Ben Askren, and gave them a massive payday, and Tyron Woodley and stuff like that. He's very clever and very good at picking who he fights. And I think Mike Tyson here is another sort of masterstroke by Jake Paul because Mike Tyson is one of those guys that, hardcore boxing fans are going to know that, listen, this is a massive mismatch. You're dealing with a guy who's, okay, was a great fighter at his time, youngest ever world champion. But the guy's nearly 60 years old. The guy's going to be 58 years old. He's going to be 30 or 30 years your senior by the time you fight him. And when it comes to something like boxing, that counts for a lot, regardless of how good you were in your prime. You're 25 years or so retired. you're 58 years old. You're not gonna, when a young man hits you, the worst could happen, and that's the reality going into this fight. That okay, Jake Paul, he doesn't really have any. Mike Tyson's forgotten more about boxing than Jake Paul could ever know. But at the same time, Mike Tyson is still 58 years old. He's still, he's nearly 60. He's like the same, not much younger than my parents, pretty much. So it's one of those things where masterstroke by Jake Paul, and I think Mike Tyson has got enough mysticism about him, and that he's such a transcendent figure that people are going to buy into this. And also, the genius thing about this whole promotion is that it's not going to be behind a paywall. It's not even going to be like Tyson versus Jones on Triller, where you have to pay and whatever. This is going to be on Netflix for free, and everyone knows that Netflix is a massive platform with hundreds of millions of subscribers, hundreds of millions of users. So I think this is a clever thing by Jake Paul, because he knows that okay, you can't fight anyone more famous than Mike Tyson. No one's gonna bring eyeballs to this whole thing like a Mike Tyson, and he himself has got a massive audience of young kids, and I think the fact that it's going to be free to air is genius. It's that means that it can't fail, and that means that it's going to probably do enormous figures. And I think it's even going to get, even if you haven't got Netflix, I think there's going to be maybe a big influx of people subscribing to Netflix and getting Netflix, just for this exhibition between Tyson and Jake Paul. So I think Netflix is going to get a boost out of it. It's going to have millions and millions, probably hundreds of millions of eyes on this thing. So yeah, in that respect, it's genius. But for me personally, it's not something I want to see with the legends. I'd rather see Tyson just stay in retirement, because remember, not only the age thing with Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson has been seen, walking with a cane recently. He's been seen in a wheelchair recently. Um, Everyone that knows his podcast, the guy's been, smoking that stuff, the green stuff, and he's been taking eating them, shrooms and all that sort of stuff. So he's been taking some recreational stuff that you're not really supposed to be taking. And he's a much more mellow dude. And when you're taking that sort of stuff, you're not going to be in no fit state to have a fight and whatnot. But, that just kind of adds to it for me, that he hasn't, from what I've seen, recent images, he doesn't look to be in the greatest of health conditions, and the certain substances he's been taking, make this a very dangerous thing for me. But anyway, yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. But my hope on it is that, what I hope to see is Mike Tyson just knock him spark out. That's what I want to see as a boxing fan. But probably age will not allow that to happen. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on this Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, on free to air on Netflix. I think it's going to be in July. It's either June or July, if I'm not mistaken. So let me know your thoughts. Until next time, it's MKO Pugilism, over and out.